Hello, friends. Welcome to our read aloud time of the miraculous journey of Edward Tulane. So, our friend Edward, who's now Clyde, has been on quite an adventure. He has gone on the boat, landed in the ocean, ended up at a dump, and then was kicked off on the side of the road off the train car and was picked up by the lady. I don't think we learned her name. I'm going back. Nope, the woman who now calls him Clyde and has made him into a scarecrow, which was not working. At the end of our last chapter, it says that she came back with the birds and a boy. So we're going to find out what happens today in chapter 16 when she returns with the boy. Bryce, said the old woman, get away from that rabbit. I ain't paying you to stand and stare. Yes, ma'am, said Bryce. He wiped his nose with the back of his hand and continued to look up at Edward. The boy's eyes were brown with flecks of gold shining in them. Hey, he whispered to Edward. A crow settled on Edward's head, and the boy flapped his arms and shouted, "Go on, get!" And the bird spread his wings and flew away. Bryce, shouted the old woman. Ma'am, said Bryce. Get away from that rabbit. Do your work. I ain't going to say it again. Yes'm, said Bryce. He wiped his hand across his nose. I'll be back to get you, he said to Edward. The rabbit spent the day hanging by his ears, baking in the hot sun, watching the old woman and Bryce weed and hoe the garden. Whenever the woman wasn't looking, Bryce raised his hand and waved. The birds circled over Edward's head, laughing at him. What was it like to have wings? Edward wondered. If he had had wings when he was tossed overboard, he would not have sunk to the bottom of the sea. Instead, he would have flown in the opposite direction, up into the deep, bright blue sky. And when Lolly took him to the dump, he would have flown out of the garbage and followed her and landed on her head, holding on with his sharp claws. And on the train, when the man kicked him, Edward would not have fallen to the ground. Instead, he would have risen up and sat on top of the train and laughed at the man. Caw, caw, caw! In the late afternoon, Bryce and the old lady left the field. Bryce winked at Edward as he walked past him. One of the crows landed on Edward's shoulder and tapped with his beak at Edward's china face, reminding the rabbit with each tap that he had no wings, that not only could he not fly, he could not move on his own at all, in any way. Dusk descended over the field, and then came true dark. A whippoorwill sang out over and over again, Whippoorwill, whippoorwill. It was the saddest song Edward had ever heard. And then came another song, the hum of a harmonica. Bryce stepped out of the shadows. Hey, he said to Edward. He wiped his nose with the back of his hand, and then he played another bit of a song on his harmonica. I bet you think I wasn't going to come, but here I am. I come to save you. Too late, thought Edward, as Bryce climbed the pole and worked at the wires that were tied around his wrists. I am nothing but a hollow rabbit. Too late, thought Edward, as Bryce pulled the nails out of his ears. I'm only a doll made of china. But when the last nail was out and he fell forward into Bryce's arms, the rabbit felt a rush of relief. And the feeling of relief was followed by one of joy. Perhaps, he thought, it is not too late, after all, for me to be saved. And that is the end of our chapter. You think it's too late, or you think he's going to get saved? We're going to find out later what happens with Bryce and Edward on his next adventure. I will see you soon. Remember, have a good day, be kind, and smile.